Today, I wanted to introduce you to JHawtCode. JHawtCode is a Quake-like console that allows you to enter Spring God mode. Well, sort of. It's a console that runs on your Spring-based website and allows you to run server-side Java from the client side. Let me give you a quick demo here. I'm going to do that from the demo site of JHawtCode, demo.jhawtcode.com. And if I open up the terminal or console by pressing tilde, I can then enter some Java code and execute it. And it'll come back from the server, whatever I printed out. There we go. Hello, I'm Java. Pretty neat, but that's just beginning. Let me show you a little more of what JHawtCode can do by demonstrating on the Spring PetClinic. So for those that don't know, the Spring PetClinic is a simple Spring app that allows you to track owners, their vets, their pets, and when they have visits to the vet. I've got the source code checked out, and I'm going to install JHawtCode on the source code. So I'm going to first do that by opening up the POM file and adding the dependency for JHawtCode. So let me scroll to the dependency section here and simply add in the JHawtCode dependency version. So right now 1.01 snapshot is the latest, but make sure you check the website to see what the latest version is. So the next step will be for me to add component scanning into the Spring app. And this is because we want the application itself to pick up the JHawtCode controllers. So if I go into the resources here, I see that there is an XML configuration for the Spring application. So I can simply come in and add in the component scanning for the JHawtCode class path. I'm going to save that and then actually import the JHawtCode XML. So I'll want to open up the web.xml file under the webapps webinf directory, find the dispatcher servlet, which we have here, and simply add in the class path value for JHawtCode. Okay, and save that. As one step here, I want to include some JavaScript and CSS, and that's how JHawtCode is going to be inserted on the page itself. So if I look under JSPs, I can see that there's a few here, but my guess is they all inherit some sort of component. So here's our script and our CSS, and I'll simply come in here and add in some script and CSS. So all of these things are documented on jhawtcode.com. If you click on README, it'll go to how to install JHawtCode. There is one final step. We don't want this running in production, so I've added in a little bit of a safeguard. If you go to your program settings, here I'm going to go to the configuration in IntelliJ. I need to insert one option, and that option is jhawtcode.enabled equals I certify this is not prod. This is because we definitely don't want JHawtCode running in a production environment because there could be some effects if users were allowed to run Java code on your server. So we want to keep this in development mode and maybe even QA mode in case you maybe deploy and forget some code or can't do something. JHawtCode is going to give you that capability. Okay, so we've got all of our components installed. I'm going to go ahead and run a Maven install here. And then I'm going to use IntelliJ's nice little run button to go ahead and start up the PetClinic. We can take a look at the console to see how progress is going. And now I've started up the Spring PetClinic. It looks just like the version that is running out, Spring's version in the Cloud Foundry. However, locally, I've got one additional option, and that's pressing the tilde key. I can bring up the JHawtCode console. So let's just execute some simple code to see if it's working. Here, I'm basically just getting the session off the request and then going deep into the Spring app to get the name of the application. So I'm going to type that code in and then hit :W to execute that code. Hey, and I found the name of the application. It is Spring PetClinic. Pretty neat. I can quit the console anytime by pressing tilde or simply doing :Q. And there we go, it's disappeared. So one thing you notice is that the console is just a little bit small, especially since we're doing a demo. So JHawtCode has one additional feature. You can set runtime properties. And JHawtCode is looking for one for the console height, so let me go ahead and code that out here. It's JHawtCode.console.height. And let me go ahead and increase it a few pixels. Right now it's 250, I think. Let's go ahead and set it at 300. So that system property's been updated. And actually, if I go ahead and refresh the page and hit tilde, you'll notice that it's a little bit longer. Pretty neat. That can be extended out to a lot of different system properties, so long as the endpoints are looking to reread those. But there's a little bit more complex things that JHawtCode can do as well. So we said it was Spring God mode, right? So I want to see some Spring action going on. So let me put in some new code here for you. So it's a little complex, but let's break it down. I'm importing Java Lang Math and a Spring file or Spring services that are associated with the PetClinic. Then I'm getting the Clinic service bean. So the Clinic service is where all the functional code for getting and retrieving items is stored within this project. So within that Clinic service, I'm finding the number of vets, and I'm finding how many owners there are, and I'm going to print out what the ratio is of vets to pet owners. I want to know if I'm going to have a 5-to-1 ratio, a 1-to-5 ratio, and let's see what this does. So running the code, I found out that within the demo there's about a 1-to-1 ratio of vets to pet owners. And I did that by getting the bean through the running application and executing some code around it. I also demonstrated the ability to import dynamically, something kind of neat. Looking through the code a little bit, one thing I noticed is that within our Java code, in that Clinic service, which controls the clinic, there's a lot of different functions to find pets, save visits, but there's nothing for removing a pet. Now, heaven forbid your bird dies, but maybe we need a way of removing a pet from the system. So since there's not a method provided, I want to be able to add a method. So I've written a little bit of helper code, a few imports, and then some code to get a pet name and delete a pet. And I've saved this as pethelper.java. Now, we could type this into the console and run it manually, but let's say I want this available all the time, or the next time I start up the app. I can go ahead and go back into my configuration settings here and add that helper file to be run. It's just JHawtCode.append code file, and then the file that I've just showed you. I'm also going to go ahead and make that 300 height permanent. So the next time I run the application, let me go ahead and restart it here. I should have those methods available to me. So let me go ahead and find a pet. I'm just going to choose a random ID. I think there's a pet at 1. Alright. So let's print out the name of pet 1. It is Leo. Poor Leo the bird. Leo died. So using those helper methods, I'm going to go ahead and delete pet at 1, which should be Leo, and run that code. So I saw something returned. It was a void statement, so I just know that the code ran because of the cursor move. Let me go ahead and try and get the name of that pet again. Get name of ID 1, and nothing comes back. So Leo is gone from the system. Poor Leo. There's one other feature that I want to show you of JHawtCode, and that is simply loading in classes at runtime. So I can tell you from my personal experience, I've started up my web app, gone through the build process, and then I get a class def not found, or I forgot to include some jar file. So what we can do in that scenario is actually type :rr and then the file path to the local file, or the local jar file. So if I want to execute that, it's going to load it into the class loader that's being utilized, and then I can actually run some code that depends on that. So that was a JSON jar file, and if I come in here and want to print out some JSON, here I'm going to get the pet at ID 2 and then put it into a simple JSON object with the type bird. So let me go ahead and execute that, and now I have Basil the bird coming back in JSON form. This is just kind of an overview of the things that JHawtCode can do. There's a lot of extensions and a lot of uses, and I hope to develop it out more and more, but please feel free to go ahead and download for non-commercial purposes, give me some feedback, and start using JHawtCode.